Welcome to the Tools for the Modern Man podcast. I'm your host, Pete Beskis, and this week is a special week. We're celebrating an anniversary. So, yay, us. We here at the Tools for the Modern Man podcast are celebrating 1 year of being on the air. And today I'm just really going to kind of look back, reminisce a little bit about what we've accomplished, what we've talked about, how we kind of started off last year, and what I have kind of going forward, or what I have planned for this podcast moving into the next year. And so, really want to just start off by saying, I noticed that the statistics aren't very good for podcasts lasting 1 year. I think it's only about, 30 or 40% of podcasts actually make it past the first um, 20 episodes or 25 episodes. So to get to this, to get over 50 episodes is pretty big. It's a good accomplishment. And it's just nice to be able to show that there have been, you know, enough interest and I think enough content to talk about where I can bring on guests and I can teach on different things and I can share my ideas and that there's an audience out there to listen to it. So I really appreciate everyone who downloads, everyone who listens on a week to week basis. Those of you who come in for the special guests, those of you who are introduced by other audiences, I really appreciate all of it. Today, I really wanted to kind of highlight as well.
I really wanted to kind of also talk about what did I learn over the last year? Like, what are some of the takeaways that I've gotten? And, last year I kind of started off with what I called the back to basics, was really kicks off how my mindset around this podcast is what do you need to be? Do you need to be armed with to be able to tackle challenges and problems that rise for most of us in this modern era, with all of the different distractions and all of the different kind of ways that we can avoid challenges and avoid obstacles. And we're enabled that way by the way we live, what's presented to us, how we're taught. And I wanted to bring up different topics on a weekly basis that would give you just food for thought, things to think about, different techniques, different tools, different mindsets, different voices. I think that's a very big that's one of those things that I truly value, is having different voices at the table. So you don't hear just one person's perspective and one person's rant on something, but you do get to challenge your ideas and do you get to challenge some of those preconceived notions or just a different perspective from a different point of view. And I hope to keep that going as we move forward into this podcast. But as I reflect back, I think some of the best episodes in my mind revolved around really incredible stories. And some of the incredible stories I heard this year were, the one that really kind of stands out to me was my friend Mike, who had climbed Mount Everest, and just listening to his journey to doing something really hard and the amount of commitment and the amount of sacrifice you have to put into something, that if you want to achieve something great, you really have to put a pause on other things. Like, you can't really do everything at the same time, and that there's a season for all these different little pieces. Um, I think I learned a lot about, there's some cold exposure, there was meditation, deep breathing from my friend Tim Wagner. There were, lessons I got to learn too by being coached live, talking about my strengths, my core values, what it takes to accomplish a goal. These are all things that I value, and these are exercises that I go over and over again. And I love to be able to collaborate and to have people to bounce these ideas off of. I think I've noticed this over the last year as well, talking to different people, is it's introduced me to different thought leaders who I can then learn from. And I think that's so necessary, especially in today's world where you have all this information coming at you in little 5-second bites, and you get the little news clippings or the tweets or the Instagram reels, and everything's really short. Everything is digestible in like 5 seconds or less. But to really sit down and listen to another person's story, to listen to another person's point of view, I get to grow. I get to challenge my own thoughts on these, and I think that's been really cool about the last year. Um, as I kind of go through a lot of it, I think some of my fun episodes that I love are the book review ones. This is an opportunity when I've been reviewing books to share with you all things that have influenced me, thoughts that have influenced me, how I continue to learn and grow and adapt over the years because I'm exposing myself to different ideas. And I challenge all of you this year to pick up a book or to pick up a piece of content that's not just digestible in 30 seconds. Pick up something that you have to come back and revisit maybe a second time or a third time. You know, I did one of my favorite books that I read this year that I did a review on was The Infinite Game. And that book has really stuck with me. It's the idea of what do you create that will last the test of time? What are you creating now? Is it just for a year? Is it for 3 years? Is it for 10 years? Or is this a lasting legacy that you're trying to imprint somewhere? So that was a really cool one. One common theme though, that I took away from this past year and is really changing the way that I'm thinking about things going forward revolves around leadership. And I know it's a topic that's much talked about, but very few people exhibit it. And this is something that, you know, I see day to day in the workplace. I see day to day in my life. I see on the field at the kids' school. I see in parenting. It's this concept of leadership is something that is missing right now. And we love to talk about it, just like we love to talk about things like integrity and showing up and authenticity and all those buzzwords. But it comes back to just leading and leading by example and leading with a mission in mind of how to accomplish something. What is your objective? What is your goal? What is your vision? What is your mission? What are the values you hold on to? This all started from me breaking it out in the first few episodes of mission, vision, core values and strengths and leaning into your strengths and then how you apply those strengths, right? And if you haven't revisited, this is a great time to kind of go back to those first episodes and to listen to some of my expert coaches come in and talk about core values. You know, Nick Sotelo did an amazing, he was my first guest and he did an amazing job of highlighting what a value really is. Dr. Lee Coles did my strengths assessment and we talked about, you know, how my strengths show up in my life and in my work and in how I interact with people. And as I review and as I go back and look at those, it's so true. I've been in a period right now where 2024 for me, as I kind of ended up last year, was opportunities and looking at the opportunities that are in front of me and that I'm presented with and how I'm going to capitalize on opportunities, you know, to make an impact with my family, with my work, with my coaching, with my message. And I can only make that impact if I show up as a leader. I can only make that impact if I'm here to support the other person. If I can show them that these aren't just words, these are things that you apply. These are things that lead to your success. And the more I do, the more I step out, the more I show up, the more I lean into these tools and these strengths that I've accumulated over 40, oh my God, 7 years come this Thursday. That I feel it's all coming together. And it's so fun to be able to see how all of these different paths and all those different threads that I've run over the last few years are starting to mesh and come together. You know, I think we so oftentimes focus so much on the negative things that are happening in our lives. And especially, I do believe we do go through peaks and troughs. Like there's a season for everything in our lives, whether it's a career, whether it's your personal relationships, whether it's your physical health, whether it's your wealth, your money, your spiritual being, all of those things. Everyone ebbs and flows in a different, you know, in a different way. But when we're always focusing on the thing that's in its trough and not the thing that's in its peak. And when I go back and I look at, you know, how do you show up as a leader and how do you show up as an example? You know, it's tough to do and it takes a lot of work, but that practice will help you to focus on what is working right now for you. What is something that you want? What is an obstacle that you're trying to overcome and identifying as just a problem to be solved? I think we're not doing enough of that. We're supporting each other, you know, I think in a counterproductive way. Like there's always a place you can go and complain. There's always a negative attitude somewhere out there. But What about the support to help you break through those barriers? Where is your oarsman? Where's your shield, your shield wall? Who's the guy beside you? Who's the person beside you who is going to help you propel through that obstacle? And look around, ask yourself that question. Where do I get help from? Where do I get support from? How do I show up positively and negatively? Where are the areas that I need to work on myself? What is the next book I need to read? Where is the next area of my life that I want to focus on so that I can get a little bit better, 1% better, like I learned in Atomic Habits? Where are the areas that you're going to get better? And do you want to get better? Last night was funny. I had a conversation with my kids, and my daughter was complaining about going to school. And I told her, I'm like, that's your only problem in life, is going to school. I'm like, you need a purpose, and your purpose right now is to go and learn, and to learn as much as you can. If you don't have a purpose, you're just sitting on your bed, eating, consuming, hooping, sleeping, and that's not why we're here. We're not on this earth to just eat, drink, sleep, and shit. We're here for more. So if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel right now that you're out there and you're spinning your wheels, or you're spinning your tires, or you're in a lull, you're in a trough of your life, what's around you that can help you pull, what is available to you to pull you out of that rut? What is available to you to stop the downward trajectory, get to a flat place so you can start climbing back up that mountain again? Again, who are the leaders that you look to? Who are the people in your community? Who are the people in your circles, in your career, who are helping you get to that next level? And if you don't have any, that might be the first problem that you go look to solve. So where do I find them? So look for your mentors, look for places to listen. Come back to this podcast. Share with me challenges and struggles that you're having that I can then go and source out the best and brightest have on this podcast for the next, 52 weeks of the year. And let's make this next 2024, this year 2 of the Tools for the Modern Man podcast, even better than the first year, because I believe that first run was like the beta test. That first year was the beta test. This is where we're going to start to dive deep on certain topics. Things I have planned this year really are going to be revolving around fixing little things that you're doing in your life that are holding you back massively. And it is going to be, I think, a year of leadership. It is going to be a year of talking about how to get what you want, how to take that place that you're at right now where you're feeling like you're stuck, where you're feeling like you don't have any options, and creating options, creating opportunities. How are you going to go do that? Well, we're going to talk about that here. We're going to have some great guests on. We're going to be talking about, first tactical stuff, resumes. You're looking for a new job, you're trying to get out there and improve your situation. Well, starts with that piece of paper that you have in your hand. The next one is we're going to talk about networking. We're going to talk about how to create a network of high-minded individuals, how to create a network that improves you, not pulls you back. So where you talk about, kind of the 5 averages, the average of the 5 people you hang around the most, and how can you cultivate richer relationships that serve not just you, but that other person as well? How are you going to show up to be valuable in relationships? The other one we're going to talk about is, showing up as a leader, being a leader. What does that even mean? How does that look? What does that look like when you're a leader of, multi-generational teams, or, being at home and dealing with children? Or how are you going to be a leader in your relationships with your wives or with your spouses? All of these different topics that I'm really excited about coming forward, and I have a lot of great guests lined up, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I want to take this moment to celebrate 1 year. I have a birthday coming up, Petemas. Used to always celebrate it over 4 or 5 or 6 days. I think this year I'm just going to try to celebrate it with my friends, with my family. And yeah, man, this is going to be a good year, 2024. I'm really positive. All the signs are looking great for 2024. And I want us to move together, and I want to be able to talk to you where you're at. So fire in some messages, fire in some ideas. What are the things that you'd love to hear about? I'd love to hear from you, the listener. So drop me a line. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'll put all the show links down below so you guys can click and give me some feedback. Tell me if you even like the show. Give it a rating. Is it a 5 or is it a 2? I can handle it. I'm a big boy. So come on, let's make this the best podcast out there. And I appreciate all of you who've been listening so far and all the people in the future who are going to be found like linked to this show. Again, if you guys like this, if you think that there's some topic that might resonate with a friend or family member out there, definitely pass it along. And I appreciate the support. I will talk to you all next week.